So they stopped using that particular dermatologist. Some GPs just don't want to use telehealth at all in the rural areas. So it's not all positive, it just needs to grow. That's why that conference is not called the Australian Telehealth Conference every year, it's called SFT every year, SFT 17, SFT 18, Success and Failures of Telehealth. Because Professor Smith also likes to talk about the failures. That's a good stepping stone, which all of you can use to grow up in life. Now we're coming to that slide, performance, the whole state. This is a bit of an appetizer. Metro North is the clear leader because they are already head and shoulders in front of the rest. It doesn't need much for them, they have only improved 44%. Gold Coast is lagging behind. How much lagging behind you'll soon come to see. But for them, even a small growth is a big growth, so even as few patients if they see, they go up by 65%. So here's a final chance for all of you to think, where does Metro South rank in the whole state? Where is it? No? Where does Gold Coast rank? The whole state? You all play sports, don't you? You know the bottom ranked team in sports. There's only, what sports writers write in sports magazines, the only way forwards is up. Yes, Gold Coast is bottom ranked in telehealth. Yes, it's a fact. This is an actual official slide in telehealth unit. Look at Metro South right in the middle. So good on you. It is being used. Metro North is the leader. This is for Gold Coast specifically, which specialty? I'm not being biased. Yes, because it's a very good clinic director there. Most of you know Dr. Peter Davern. He started telehealth in 2009. Well before the telehealth unit got established in 2015. 6 years before he started telehealth on his own. No wonder endocrines has taken a head start. Neurosurgery is also doing well at Gold Coast. Palliation is using it. Geriatrics started using it. Many other specialties, as you can see, not even used. Empty. So coming right to the end, these are the last two slides. So part of our recommendations are increased telehealth unit for both outpatients and inpatients. You can use it for both outpatients and inpatients. That's one of the take-home messages. It's not just for clinics. Even inpatients, you can use it. If you want to start a telehealth clinic, maybe one clinic a week, say 2-3 hours on either a morning or afternoon in a week, and start slow and go slow. Maybe just 1 or 2 patients a week, that's more than enough. And slowly it will grow, just like my clinic at Robina grew. In the beginning I had just 1 patient in October 2015, then there was nothing in November, and slowly it grew, 2-3 patients every afternoon. Now I get about 6 patients every Wednesday afternoon. That keeps me busy. It might not look like much, but at least the patients are happy in Roma. Then there are finances which can be gained by the department. And the last 2 messages are, remember that distance is not everything. Clinical outcomes are yet to be researched in telehealth. This we have to wait for more studies in the next few years, the next few decades, until we finally get proper clinical outcomes. We still don't yet have clinical outcomes in telehealth. It's not like those fancy new medications you get. Like empagliflozin came out last year, the big trials, New England Journal, diabetes tablet. 30% reduction in cardiovascular mortality. No other diabetes medication can do it. That's a clinical outcome. That's comparing apples to apples. Whereas here we still haven't got clinical outcomes in telehealth. Do they actually affect clinical outcomes? We still don't know. Ultimately, the last message to say is you need a united trio of executives, some of whom are present in this room. Clinical directors, some of whom are also present in this room. Many consultants are in this room. And a telehealth unit for each hospital. All of 3 should be united. Then you'll grow. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Anyone with any questions or comments, thoughts? Dr. McGowan?
Do you have a feel for how it's going to fit in with the EMR? Can you actually do a telehealth thing and images or whatever you're taking can go right into the patient's electronic medical record or even into My Health record?
My Health is cutting edge. Yes, we do have EMR in Gold Coast, but it's not the advanced iEMR you enjoy here in Logan. It's still the primitive EMR. And what they do is one desktop is open with EMR with the GP's referral letter scanned into it. And another screen has the patient's face on it with the GP. And all I do is, after the consultation, write in a sheet of paper, dictate the letter, and I scan that sheet of paper which gets scanned into EMR. The paper gets destroyed. And then the typist types the letter 2-3 days later and posts to the GP. And it's all linked into Hibiscus. We also have to create a Hibiscus code just for that clinic. Just like all of us have Hibiscus codes, our own unique number. One should be created just like any clinic. You can even create one for telehealth clinics, Hibiscus code. For that you need a good receptionist, a dedicated receptionist, and a very smart nurse who can coordinate the doctor and the receptionist together. And a doctor who has 2 or 3 hours free just one afternoon in a week just to do a few patients. And then slowly it'll grow. And one also needs to meet GPs. Without meeting GPs, it'll never grow. I had to travel all the way there in person to Roma. Took 3 days off work and just met all the GPs. And then they started selling referrals. We can also see patients in Roma, not only from the GP practice, even from those public hospitals, because they have that same Bravia telehealth device, you know? They have the same thing in every Queensland Health hospital. So the patients sit in the public hospital with or without the GP, just with the nurse, and I see them from Robina. We do it that way as well. Even from the home. Yes, David?
Algenes, thank you for your enthusiastic talk. And congratulations on consulting Donald Trump. The public hospital inpatients, how do you bill them? Are they billable to Medicare, or is there some other billing, money earning process for the public hospital inpatients? Doesn't that infringe Medicare arrangements?
Public hospitals, we can do it, but it's not used in Gold Coast. But it should be 15 kilometers distant. So I'm assuming, for example, dermatologist in PA hospital from here, that'll have to, yes, that's 15 kilometers. That can be used.
Except we're RA1.
Yeah, except the thing is about the RA1. But inpatient to inpatient you can definitely use, but only the specialist gets the money, not us.
But under Medicare, I mean, this is a state-funded hospital. How can you raise an MBF charge for a public hospital patient? I thought MBS only applied outside of the hospital.
There'd be activity-based funding, so you can't do MBS being patient.
You can do, okay.
You can't.
You can?
There'd be activity-based funding for any inpatients.
Right. So it's not an MBS item number, it's an ABF funding. Okay.
And even I don't have an answer to that. That's an excellent question. That's one for the telehealth coordinators to look into the nitty-gritty.
Where does the ABF funding come from? Is that federal money?
Yep. Come on.
Thanks.
Someone asked about using personal devices, and I guess there's potential privacy issues around having identifiable information on your phone. I would suggest don't start taking photos without talking to someone, but is that an issue for you?
Yes. There's many of the patients sitting from home, you know, that computer can easily get hacked. Anyone. Absolutely true. We're always a bit nervous when we're seeing somebody from home. Whereas the best thing is we try our best to prioritize it. We try to ask them, where is your GP practice? We can use Pexid or we can use Cisco Chapa, at least that's secure in the first instance. It's only failing that as a default mode. We give them home as a second line option. But you're right, it can easily get hacked. We don't use Skype at all.
Just to expand on that, what Sue might be referring to is there's a clear regionalisation policy about using photographs and personal devices. You have to get permission.
Yes, that consent form.
You have to tell the patient how they can contact
Every
you.
patient has a consent form you have to fill up before every telehealth consultation. A special consent form which you don't do in face-to-face clinics, but we do it in telehealth.
The pictures have got even higher level because the patients can have to be told how they can contact you in the future to remove their permission, and you have to be able to describe how you can remove all copies of the image, and it's quite complicated if you're using images even without identifying features on them, just in case anybody's going to start using their own phones.
Just wanted to add to the virtual ward round situation. PA Geriatrics actually does virtual ward rounds to multiple places, including King Roy, on a regular basis. Not just Roma, they do King Roy, Roma, Warwick as well. The thing that helps is they also do 6 monthly site visits, so that the rapport between the clinicians on either side is maintained. So they do a site visit once every 6 months, and then there's a weekly consultation service. That's how it works best, because it's a team management.
True, absolutely.
Can I just make a comment? I mean, I was just from personal experience, I think the telehealth is good, but certain specialties, I guess, like I say, it's dependent on certain specialties. Like your clinical assessment is first the person who's on the opposite side, the GP, usually, because the information you get, or the clinical exam you get, is actually what is the facts presented to you. I mean, lots of the clinical exam can be via observation and stuff like that, but I find that that's one drawback of doing not a face-to-face rather than a over the TV, that you know, some of the clinical signs could be difficult. So I found in the end I rely a lot on imaging, blood testing, and managing that rather than sometimes, which I might not do if I was doing a face-to-face. I don't know. It's just a personal kind of comment rather.
You're quite true. Often we get the GP to sit with the patient, and you're right, rheumatology is a good example. You know, the big thing in rheumatoid arthritis is synovitis. The big thing is feeling the hands for that bouncy feeling between the joints. If you can feel the space, that's normal. If you can't feel the space, that's synovitis. That's the big thing in rheumatology. And I notice the rheumatologists always get the GP to sit with the patient, and always try to feel the newly diagnosed cases. Can you feel synovitis? That's the big question to ask. And if the GP can feel synovitis, it might not be accurate. So there's a potential for it being missed. So that's why face-to-face clinics are better than telehealth.
I guess the other side is if your patient's, you know, got thousands of kilometres to travel,
Yeah.
you know, it gives them access to someone's care.
Just wanted to talk about the medico-legal aspects of that. So you're making a judgment based on incomplete or inaccurate information presented by others. Have there been any cases?
Potentially what we do in the lab when we take cases from them.
Sorry, Liz, speak up.
Yeah, about any medical legal
That's
cases.
potentially what we do every night when we take cases from registrars.
I haven't yet heard of a medical legal case, but it's a very good question. I'll have to look into it. There must be almost certainly something in the world by now.
Well, where is the time? We've also, I don't know if Sasha and Liz, you wanted to draw. Yeah. So we might do the draw for, well, first of all, we might thank Dr. Aranha very much for
Thank you, sir.
And we might just do a quick draw. Oh, sorry, I could have come and got it. No, it's just Algenes. Yes.
Me, of all people. No, not even.
Don't draw your day.
There you go.
Anthony sorry. Just take your call back on the back. Thanks very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
I don't need one of them. You don't drink coffee?
What's the size of the screen?
I was going to say, I was feeling like it might be a good time coffee.
Half the size of this. See, you start it into half. Half the size of this. There's not a big picture.
But it would not be like, you know, the simple desktop monitor screen, small, not smaller.
Not so small, no, it's as big as that. Yes, ma'am. How do you remember me? I do. Yes, of course. Num of C1. Num of level 1.
Sorry, thank you very much. It's so enthusiastic. Thank you for coming up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming up here and speaking to us. There you go. Interested, excited.
Yes,
That's it. Yeah.
And it's on the slides. I can email it to you. I will be there tonight. Email them to you.
Yes.
Email address, I'll go back to I'll be right back.
The only one that needs to go away is
I think it's prognosis as well.
Yes.
Anticipating missile.
You have to be.
Yeah, I'm serious.
I don't know. I think more look at it.
So what
Some
about
more the
that?
evidence of the fact I think we made
Calling up a pediatric consultant.
It can be done. It's a great question to ask. Great question to ask.
Find all the information, because I'm totally yeah. So,
Yes, so this is where your telehealth coordinator should take the time to look into it. Telehealth coordinator. There has to be one in every hospital.
I'll find out.
It is not a doctor, it's going to be either a nurse or a non-doctor, non-nurse person who holds the post and is keeping quiet.
Are we into information with the Australian Stroke Dictionary? The Invalid Dictionary has a definition of telehealth. Yeah, come on in. So I tick yes, we run the PA. So all of our patients in the last 12 months, 25% is all telehealth. But it doesn't have the same definition.
So because you can get billed, you know?
Yeah.
Yes, the person to ask this are the PA hospital guys who are very friendly. Sean Halloran. Exactly. Yes, so this is a very good question because you can earn a lot of money. And the person to ask is this Sean Halloran, who works in the PA hospital. Yes, PA hospital is a big ground floor thing, about 12 computers, all rooms. That's where they do telehealth. Yes. It's called the COH, Center of Online Health. I've been there many times in person to talk to Sean Halloran. I've seen it. I'll give you his email address, Sean Halloran's email address. All you got to do is ask him that this is what you're doing for stroke, and ED call them directly, and he's the most helpful guy in the world to give you any answers you want.
They're probably likely to get more money
Yes,
than us.
exactly.
But
Help your
that's
patients.
okay. But it helps our
Helps your patients. I'll be very, very happy to help.
Yeah. Lovely.
Lovely,
It's
Nicola.
nice to see you.
Nice seeing you again. Nice seeing you again after so
I
many
saw your
years.
name and I thought, great.
Oh, you remembered me.
Of course, of
We'll
course.
send the slides.
Lovely, thank you.
Anytime with you.
Yeah. Oh, okay, super.
I got it.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.